Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Jahi, and I'm with the Liberation Center, and I said I would be doing a lecture on African spirituality. African spirituality is a concept that we must discuss right now because many African Americans are now asking and inquiring about it. This is a wonderful inquisition. So today we will be talking briefly about the meaning of African spirituality and what it basically is. The word spirit means breath, wind, that which animates you. So your spirit is what gives you life. Consequently, or as a result, it is spirituality that brings vitality to you. African spirituality was practiced as the earliest form of people that had spirituality. It was used in times of antiquity, meaning ancient times. There was no other form of belief before African spirituality, for it was the earliest practice of paying homage to a supreme being or ideal. The African lived spirituality, for it was their lifestyle. It was the first structure of any belief system in the world, and it came thousands of years before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In fact, many scholars believe that all of the religious systems which are today have borrowed from and repackaged themselves from African spirituality. For example, the first concept of a resurrection occurred thousands of years before Jesus. Asar was resurrected. The Immaculate Conception. Aset was the first woman to have been said to have given birth without having any intercourse with a man thousands of years before Mary. Heru was the first savior of the world thousands of years before Jesus. The earliest use of a word that described a place called heaven and still is written in the ancient scrolls called the Pyramid Text. Even the word that is said to close Christian and Muslim prayers was the neter amun, which is where we get the word amen from, which comes directly from African spirituality. Oh, don't just take my word, ladies and gentlemen. Do your own research, and you too will see that many of the notions you have digested came directly from African spirituality, and all religions are involved. The African spiritual thought is a way of life. African spirituality pays homage to nature. It allows the self to connect and understand the interrelation that humans have with nature. African spirituality honors our ancestors. It pays tribute and great respect to those ancestors that have transitioned into the next life. African spirituality understands the cosmic laws of the universe. The African spiritualist lives life according to belief, science, the origin, and laws of the universe. In African spirituality, man believes the idea of a force presiding over the universe, and never, I said never, did they use the word God. The African thoughts of a deity was so great that they didn't attempt to use a word to define the supreme idea behind creation. The African used the God force concept without ever saying the word God. Note, the earliest written form of the Germanic word God comes from the 6th century, and the English word derives from this word. In African spirituality, it is crucial to understand and recognize the ancestors that gave us spirituality view the divine force as one basically indescribable force that differentiates itself into different faculties or powers. African spirituality believes that there is one divine force and not many gods, as others have erroneously stated. You may have heard that the ancient Kemetites worshipped many gods. This is a cover-up and a bold-faced lie. This falsehood came in when the so-called Egyptologists mistranslated one Middle Nature word or symbol called the neter as gods or goddesses. This is what has corrupted the true integrity of African spirituality. Our ancestors never had multiple gods, let alone worship them. Oh, but they understood the laws of cosmic law and order, and this is what revealed the true teachings behind their ancient mystical enlightenment. Understanding this is the greatest freedom that anyone searching for liberation of the African spirit will achieve. The Neteru are divine principles which were wrongly translated as gods and goddesses. Our ancestors fathomed that although there is one spiritual energy, there are many facets and aspects of the one supreme being that created the universe and all that is. The Neteru are symbols of divine principles by which the supreme force was behind, not definitions of the great force. African spirituality is a way of accepting the fact that there is a spiritual force in the universe larger than all mankind, nature, astronomy, and astrological existences. Spirituality is your nature. It is your essence. It is who you are. It is the essential part and intrinsic quality of something. African spirituality is about you living or having an experience rather than living vicariously through a concept. African spirituality is about connecting one's self to one's higher self, and that higher self is the level of conscious and awareness that one can contain in this physical body, the temple. Understand this, y'all. The more conscious and aware you are of your spirituality, the more foresight you have. African spirituality recognizes that there is an interaction, an interrelation between forces between the world that is physical and the world that is intangible, meaning unable to be touched or grasped, not having a physical presence. African spirituality seeks the principles of Maat, which are truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, and propriety, which is the condition of being right. African spirituality brings one into a deeper understanding of who they are. African spirituality is being able to interpret nature so that you can be in line with it and be in harmony with it. African spirituality looks at nature and symbolizes various aspects of nature, but not worshiping nature. The very attributes of nature reveals the one behind it, but it isn't it. The ancestors saw themselves in relation with that of nature. We were totally connected with nature. We didn't worship animals and insects as many people thought and still think today. We looked at nature for our communication with the great force. Our ancient ancestors were keen observers of nature, and the most notable African creation story goes a little like this. It's told by them. In the beginning, the world began with a great darkness, and waters were hovering over the face of the earth, and the spirit of the Creator was lingering over them, called Noon. Sounds familiar, huh? The primeval endless watery abyss. Then something happened called Zeptepi, which means the first time out of something. Out of the waters came a mountain called Benben. From this hill arose Atum, the first Neter, the first divine principle. And he coughed and spat out the first two Neteru, Shu, which was air, and Tefnut, which is moisture. Shu and Tefnut had two children, Geb, which was the earth, and Nut, which was the sky. So Shu lifted up Nut, so that Nut became a canopy over Geb, which is the earth. So that's how the sky was lifted up over the earth. Now Geb and Nut, they had four children, Asar, which is called Osiris, Aset, which is called Isis, Satish, which is called Set or Seth, and Nephthys. Now Asar, or Osiris, was the king of the earth, and Aset, or Isis, was the queen of the earth, and they both were great rulers for many, many years. However, Satish, or Seth, became jealous of his brother Asar, or Osiris, and he killed his brother Asar, or Osiris, and became king of the world. Doesn't that sound familiar? Satish, or Seth, cut up his brother into 14 pieces and spread them all over the world. Now Aset, or Isis, which is his wife, she looked for the pieces, but she could not find all of them. So she performed magic. Then her husband Asar, or Osiris, was resurrected. Aset, or Isis, Asar's wife, became pregnant immaculately. Asar, or Osiris, then went down to the underworld and became the lord of the underworld. Now Isis, which is Asar, or Osiris's wife, bore Asar, or Osiris, a son called Heru, or Horus. So Heru, or Horus, battled against his uncle Satish, or Seth, for killing his father, and he won this battle, regaining the earthly throne. Heru, or Horus, was the savior of the earth, or the world, and Asar, or Osiris, became the king of the underworld. And this is where all will be judged before him. Does that sound familiar? Thank you for tuning in to the Liberation Center. This is Jahi. This was a short synopsis of African spirituality. I hope that you learned many ideas, concepts, and going forward, we're going to do many, many more of these. So please, Take your time and let all this digest into your soul, into your heart, because we as a people, we really need to be in line with who we are and not allow anyone else to take the spiritual nature that we have and do anything with it other than allow the Creator to live within us so that we can enjoy this life and the life to come. Now let us recap. What have we learned today about African spirituality? What have we clarified? In simple terms, we've clarified that African spirituality was practiced as the earliest form of a people that had spirituality. That's one thing we learned. Another thing we learned was that African spiritual thought is a way of life. It's not a religion. It's a way of life. In African spirituality, it is crucial to understand and recognize the ancestors that gave us spirituality view the divine force as one basically indescribable force that differentiates itself into different faculties or powers. Another thing we learned was the Neteru, which are the symbols of divine principles by which the supreme force was behind, not definitions of the great force. For example, many people think that we worship the sun, but see, there y'all go again, thinking that we're worshiping an object, but we really don't worship the sun. We respect the sun. We thank the Creator for giving us the sun because of what the sun does for us, as far as giving us light, as far as nourishing us, as far as helping the animals and helping the plant world. So because we don't know all we can know about the Creator, the divine force, the supreme being, the supreme energy, but we give the thanks that we have in our hearts because we recognize that we don't know the Creator fully, that this is what was given to us so that we can continue to remain on this earth and to worship and to give the praise to our great energy. African spirituality also, we learned, is a way of accepting the fact that there is a spiritual force in the universe larger than all of mankind, nature, astronomy, and astrological existences. We learned that spirituality is your nature. It's your essence. It's who you are. It is essential and the intrinsic quality of something. We learned that African spirituality is about you living and having an experience rather than having or living vicariously through a concept. We also learned that African spirituality is about connecting oneself to one's higher self, and that higher self is the level of conscious and awareness that one can contain in this physical body, which is the temple. We can live this African spiritual life that we have. Finally, we learned that African spirituality seeks the principles of Maat, which are truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, reciprocity, and propriety, which would be the condition of being right. The ancestors saw themselves in relation with that of nature. We were totally connected with nature. We didn't worship animals and insects as many erroneously believe. We looked at nature for our communication with the great force. That's why we were given nature, Mother Nature. My name is Jahi, and I appreciate the time that you've given to me today, and I ask that you give us a call at 210-957-1333. Leave your name and your message, and we will respond accordingly. Or write us at the Liberation Center, Post Office, Box 200372, San Antonio, Texas, 78220, or email us at hope@theliberation.center. That's hope@, H-O-P-E, @theliberation.center. Hotep, brothers and sisters, we give you peace, a peace of mind, a peace of heart, a peace of soul, and a piece of spirituality. That's African spirituality.